Okay, here we go with another great big pile of information. Welcome to the Town Meeting Program. It is Monday, March 30th, and we are brought to you, as always, by Cordova Wireless Communications, your local cell phone provider, providing your local talk show and keeping those telecommunications dollars right here in town. And I want to start by giving thanks to our City of Cordova experts on how to deal with pandemic situations, because I was thinking that I was going to have to try to homogenize and collate a bunch of information from the two new mandates that came out Friday night, the two state mandates, number 11 about social distancing and number 12 about traveling within cities in Alaska, which used to be okay and now isn't anymore. And there's been a lot of confusion over the weekend about how it affects essential workers and who needs to quarantine and are you allowed to go outside and all of this different sort of stuff. Fortunately, our local experts over the weekend put their heads together and correlated all that information and came out with a new document accompanying a new local emergency order that integrates all of that in a way that makes Cordovans the central focus. In other words, how does all of this stuff impact our people, and what are the best resources for our people to use to get things done, like commercial fishermen, for example, which has been a big concern. And let me mention, too, before we get into the documents, another nice turn that I feel like I've seen as this whole thing has unfolded, because it was getting to a point, as you looked at the chatter and saw how people were interacting with each other, like there were going to be a bunch of people greeting our commercial fishing fleet with torches and pitchforks. And thoughts of total lockdowns of the city and that sort of stuff. And it's been really nice over the last few days, over the weekend especially, to see that tide turn to the point that now most of the discussion is about not how do we keep everybody out, but how do we contact them and let them know what Cordova needs and expects from people coming outside, and encouraging them to look at the documents, forwarding documents to friends and family that will be joining us for the fishing season, and facilitating the return of the fleet, which is, of course, exactly what you would expect us to do. That's really very much the Cordovan way. And it's understandable with it being a scary situation that there are going to be some people who don't handle it well and get pitchforky about it. But it just seems like there are a lot of conversations going on between folks that are helping the panicky people to calm down and helping more of the valuable information to filter to the people who need to know it. So I really want to congratulate and express appreciation for the officials and just the folks in the community who are facilitating this, who are managing to get past the initial fears and get into a mode where people can enjoy the best possible combination of living their lives and making a living, being able to survive economically, and also being able to survive pandemically, I guess, and not catch this thing, which fortunately is, as of this show, is still a 0 confirmed positive case count for Cordova. We don't have any confirmed cases yet. Now, as we go through this document, it's lengthy. It's going to be on the wordy side. I apologize for that, but I don't want to pick and choose and try to decide what's important and what isn't. We're just going to go through the whole thing here. This document, by the way, if you want to see it, is available at cityofcordova.net in the COVID-19 section. So if you're more of a reader, you like to see the words rather than hearing them, then that's the place to look. And then the state mandates can be found at coronavirus.alaska.gov. So the local address for our local folks, our local content is cityofcordova.net, as always. For the state information, you can go to coronavirus.alaska.gov. So let's go over this now. This is a document that came out yesterday in the evening. It's called News Release Number 10. And it reads, the City of Cordova Incident Management would like to provide some clarification on Alaska Health Mandates 10, 11, and 12, as well as Cordova Health Mandate 1 and the new Emergency Order 2020-2 and their impacts on our community. Just as a sidebar, Mandate 10 was about travel into Alaska from outside Alaska. Mandate 11 had to do with mandatory social distancing, what folks call hunkering down or shelter in place. And Mandate 12 was about traveling between cities in Alaska. So back to our document. Alaska Health Mandate 10 directs that all people arriving in Alaska, whether resident, worker, or visitor, are required to self-quarantine for 14 days and monitor for illness. Arriving residents and workers in self-quarantine should work from home unless you support critical infrastructure. According to the State of Alaska's Plan Submission Instructions for businesses maintaining critical infrastructure, if your workers must travel to enter Alaska prior to May 1st and begin work on critical infrastructure immediately, you must submit a plan or protocol for maintaining critical infrastructure to the Department of Commerce, Community, and Economic Development at akcovidplans@ak-prepared.com as soon as possible. If workers are able to complete a full 14-day self-quarantine before starting work, no plan is required. If you have workers slated to travel to Alaska after May 1st, a plan must still be submitted for review. The plan must outline how the spread of COVID-19 will be avoided and not endanger lives in the communities in which you operate, of others who serve as part of that infrastructure, or the ability of that critical infrastructure to function. Now, let me remind people listening again, if this is a bit much to listen to orally, you can print it from cityofcordova.net. And by the way, there are assets available for developing these plans, that it says that it's required. There are templates and so forth, and that is mentioned later in the document, so we'll get to that. Now, from the same Health Mandate 10, it says, regarding self-quarantine, all workers arriving in the state must follow the 14-day self-quarantine guidance. If your business meets the definition of critical infrastructure workers, you may put them to work immediately, provided that you have an approved community workforce protective plan and that you enact the protective measures in your plan to safeguard the surrounding community and the remainder of your workforce from newly arrived workers. All newly arrived workers will observe self-quarantine protocols in their non-work times until they've completed the 14-day period. So in other words, when you're on the clock, you work under your employer's plan. When you're not on the clock, you're in regular quarantine like anybody else. The intent is that to the greatest extent possible, workers will self-quarantine at their final destination in Alaska in order to reduce the risk of infection during onward travel. In cases where self-quarantine at the final destination is not possible for some reason, you would need to identify the reason and what the company's alternate plan is for self-quarantine. Now, next we have a big crown jewel for Cordova, the applicability of this whole thing to fishing vessels. The document says, for now, regarding fishing vessels, parent companies should submit on behalf of their crews and develop measures for ship captains to implement. Further guidance on this may be published at a later date. Independent ship captains should submit their plans. Having incoming crews self-quarantine on the vessel is a perfectly acceptable plan. In fact, it is probably preferred. If crew members are spending any time in apartments or hotel rooms before sailing, ensure that they follow self-quarantine measures. Now, that was state information, and in addition to that, the city's new Emergency Order 2020-2 will also require all vessels and operators to sign mutual aid agreements, which, among other things, bind the operator to follow all mandates of city and state while working, and that includes the 14-day quarantine for anyone who has recently traveled or is symptomatic. By signing, they also agree to take responsibility to ensure that their crew does the same. Now, again, if you want to read this, you can download the document from cityofcordova.net. But that's been a burning question in the chatter is, do fishermen coming in have to quarantine? Do they have to be operating under a plan? And so on and so on. And the city is saying in their health mandate that at the very minimum, there needs to be a mutual aid agreement signed. And there's information on that coming up a little later. Now, you might remember Cordova Health Mandate 1. That was the first one that Mayor Copeland put out. It says, following federal, state, and local declarations of emergency, and due to the escalating incidences of positive COVID-19 cases within the state, to prevent or slow the spread of COVID-19, the city issued its first health mandate on March 20th. Air entry into Cordova, that's the focus of this. If you are entering Cordova by commercial air service or have entered within the last 14 days, you must stay home and maintain social distance from household members for 14 days from the date of your return to Cordova, and also contact your employer and do not go to work for the entirety of the 14-day period. Now, Cordova Health Mandate 1 has been augmented or updated, if you want to think of it, by this new emergency order that just came out yesterday. This is Cordova Emergency Order 2020-2. And again, everything we're sharing with you here verbally is in the same document. If you download the news release for March 29th from cityofcordova.net, I'm just going right through this document. So here's Cordova Emergency Order 2020-2. This order and the rules and procedures adopted with it, now in effect, puts into effect rules necessary to protect public health, welfare, and safety within the boundaries of the city of Cordova. The rules in this measure take into account the primacy of state of Alaska health mandates issued by the governor and are mandated to the greatest extent allowed by state law. Emergency Order 2020-02 does the following. First of all, it establishes individual distance protocols in acknowledgement of the heightened health risk posed by travelers to Cordova. Level 1 protocols are established for people who have been in Cordova for more than 14 days and include maintaining at least 6 feet of social distance from everyone outside your household and following all local, state, and federal health mandates. Level 2 protocols are established for people who have arrived in Cordova from a location inside or outside of the state within 14 days, including a 14-day home quarantine, except to travel to and from critical infrastructure work, to obtain services and supplies directly related to the individual's critical workforce position, to obtain personal food and supplies through third-party delivery, and to engage in outdoor physical activity only in areas where they are able at all times to maintain at least 6 feet of distance between the individual subject to this rule and all other individuals. So again, in other words, essential service folks are allowed to do their critical work, but the rest of it is hunker down, essentially. So that was level 1 and level 2. And then it also says individuals who display symptoms of COVID-19 must also self-quarantine in place for a minimum of 14 days, except to seek medical care. So if you have symptoms of the disease, the only reason you should be out is to go to the doctor. If you've got symptoms, doesn't matter whether you're in essential services or not, don't go to work, don't leave the house, unless you're going to get medical care. Okay, something else Emergency Order 2020-02 does. This is the new one. It requires all vessels and operators to sign mutual aid agreements which identify the measures taken by the city, as well as protections provided by the operator to prevent the spread of COVID-19 amidst the operator's employees and customers and within the community at large. This emergency order also requires local businesses that are open to more than 5 customers at one time at a physical site within the city to adopt and post a COVID-19 protective measures and policies on site, detailing the measures taken by that business to protect employees and customers from COVID-19 exposure. The local emergency order also then establishes temporary operation rules for the conduct of city business, including provisions for electronic meetings, suspension of non-essential city meetings, adjustment of facility hours and usage, deferral of payments, and provisions for employee work rules. So those are like the bullet points of the new emergency order there. The news release says the emergency order is available for review in its entirety on the Cordova Prepared page of cityofcordova.net. The city recognizes that the mandates we are adopting are stricter than those adopted by the state of Alaska, and that these restrictions place a hardship upon our residents and visitors. However, we genuinely believe that these stricter mandates are necessary to protect the Cordova community from the devastating impact of COVID-19, and that the hardship we endure now will save us lives in the future. As the COVID-19 outbreak in Alaska develops, the city may need to impose even greater restrictions upon our residents and visitors in the coming weeks and months. To this end, the city is seeking guidance from the State of Alaska Attorney General to ensure that we are able to impose the maximum travel restrictions permitted by the Constitution of the United States and Alaska. As a community, we must arm ourselves with as many tools as possible to protect our residents and our visitors from this virus. As we receive information regarding COVID-19, we will continue to make this information available on the city website. If anyone knows individuals within our community that do not have the ability to access information electronically, please share this information with them. These individuals may also call the city clerk's office. So obviously that means if you've got people that aren't on the internet, maybe print this thing out and somehow arrange to get them a hard copy or share it with them over the phone or whatever works. Now, again, this is the town meeting program for Monday, March 30th. What we're going over is the new document released by the city yesterday, which puts the Cordova expert perspective on the various state mandates, various things the city is doing, and kind of combines it all into one document. So that's what we're reading here, and this document, again, is available at cityofcordova.net. Now, the next item in this document is the Alaska Small Community Emergency Travel Order. Attached to Alaska Health Mandate 12 was the Alaska Small Community Emergency Travel Order, amended March 27th. This order is applicable to Alaskan communities that are removed from the road system, have a population smaller than 3,000, and do not house a hub hospital managed by the tribal health care system. Mandate 12, that's the one that banned travel between cities in Alaska unless absolutely necessary. Mandate 12 states that such communities, these small communities, may adopt travel restrictions that are more restrictive than are otherwise permitted in the state's health mandate by applying for this order. This is the first opportunity provided for municipalities to create and enforce restrictions stricter than those in the state mandates. Based on these specifications, the City of Cordova believes it does qualify as a small community, and they are applying for this order. City Health Mandate 1 and Emergency Order 2020-2 have been updated in preparation for this, as explained here. The City of Cordova worked with a city attorney to create rules in these local orders that take into account the primacy of State of Alaska health mandates issued by the governor and are mandated to the greatest extent allowed by state law. The updated documents will be posted to the city's website as soon as possible and will go into effect immediately. If the state decides there is a reason they cannot allow a local order, then local authorities will address that at that time. So those of you, by the way, that have been expressing concern to the city, are they going to consider stricter measures? They obviously are very much doing that. Now, here's the city's details that they have digested on State of Alaska Health Mandate 11, otherwise known as a shelter-in-place or hunker-down order. Alaska's Health Mandate 11 requires that all Alaskans stay home except to go to or from a critical infrastructure job, get fuel and do banking that can't be done online, transport family for out-of-home care, essential health needs, or custody exchanges, get important goods, engage in subsistence activities, and go outdoors as long as they're not entering public spaces, are avoiding other people, and are maintaining appropriate social distance. For more information on what is and is not allowed in Mandate 11, you can read the State of Alaska's Frequently Asked Questions document at coronavirus.alaska.gov. Moving on, businesses that don't qualify as essential must, under Mandate 11, cease all activities at facilities within the state except minimum basic operations, which include tasks necessary to facilitate remote work, maintain the value of the business inventory, ensure security, process payroll and employee benefits, and related functions. Exempt businesses, which include the expected healthcare operations, airlines, railroads, banks and lenders, first responders, governments, social service providers, media, and post office stores, also include grocery stores, supermarkets, food banks, retailers of food, retailers of beverages, and retailers of household consumer products, that is. Those are all exempt. Also, food and agriculture, cultivation, including farming, livestock, fishing, and processing, auto repair, bike repair, gas stations, auto supply stores, and related businesses are exempt. Hardware stores, plumbers, electricians, exterminators, and other service providers necessary for maintaining and operating residences. Businesses that supply goods needed to work from home are exempt. Transportation companies that transport goods to grocery stores, convenience stores, household consumer products, and so on. Home care or home-based care for seniors, children, and adults are exempt. Law firms, accounting firms providing certain services, certain child care facilities, and all other businesses that can maintain social distancing requirements and prohibit congregation of no more than 10 people in the business, including the employees. The full list, by the way, of all the types of businesses that have exemptions, provided they have a plan, remember, can be viewed at coronavirus.alaska.gov. Now, regarding the airport, This document says many Cordovans have voiced a desire to close Cordova Airport to all traffic. However, the City of Cordova recently received a letter from the state of Alaska saying the Department of Transportation and Public Facilities has confirmed with the Federal Aviation Administration that airport closure is not a valid option at this time for several reasons. One of them, airports are public facilities that provide critical life, health, and safety access to rural communities. 2, Alaska's airports have received significant federal funding to ensure they remain open and operational to all aircraft users and the public. Federal grant assurances associated with the funding prohibits airport closure without FAA approval. And then, public airports must remain open and available to all types of users, commercial, private, passenger, cargo, etc. So, in summary, the people that have been asking Cordova to close the airport, what they're saying, obviously, is they don't have the ability to do that. They don't have the authority to do that because it's not a city facility. So the next section of this document is called What You Can Do. And, really, this, as more and more people are coming to realize, this is really the heart of whether we are successful in minimizing COVID-19's presence in Cordova. It comes down in many ways to the individual. Each family doing what they can while trying to encourage others to also behave. Understanding, of course, that there are going to be, it's just human nature. There are going to be schmucks who think, oh, I don't have to do this. I don't care. I'm not sick. I've seen people saying that. I'm not sick. I don't need to quarantine. Leave me alone. Thankfully, people who think that way can be fined up to $25,000 and put in jail for up to a year. So, neener, I guess. But anyway, back to the document. What can you do? The CDC social distancing guidelines of at least 6 feet should be followed by all Cordovans, even those who don't feel sick. Cordova's elderly and high-risk populations are encouraged to self-quarantine and ask for help getting groceries, medications, and other essential items. Resources are available if you need help. As the State of Alaska Chief Medical Officer Ann Zink continues to state, the citizens of Alaska very much hold the future in their own hands. How you choose to follow these mitigation measures now will help determine how long these measures must stay in place, how many Alaskans become infected, how many hospitals are overwhelmed, and how many people eventually succumb to the disease. Cordova does not yet have a confirmed positive case of COVID-19, so let's keep it that way. Every person in town is responsible for doing their part and protecting themselves and others as if we do already have confirmed cases. In other words, they're saying we don't have one yet, but let's pretend we do. As a reminder, please follow these guidelines to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Number 1, wash hands frequently, cover coughs and sneezes, preferably into a hanky or your elbow, not on your hands, and clean frequently touched surfaces, that is. Number 2, keep at least 6 feet away from others, stay home, and work from home as much as possible. Number 3, if you're sick with a respiratory infection, even with mild symptoms, if you're 65 years old or you're part of a vulnerable population, isolate yourself from others and call ahead if you need medical attention. Number 4, in accordance with Governor Dunleavy's health mandates, remember that no gatherings may take place regardless of group size. Number 5, follow all health mandates and guidance issued by Governor Dunleavy, DHSS, the Center for Disease Control, and local governments and health authorities. And number 6, if you have flu-like illness or respiratory symptoms like dry cough, increased fever, persistent fever at 100.3 or more, and or shortness of breath, please call ahead before coming into a medical facility. This applies to emergency room and clinic visits. Next topic, Testing in Cordova. While there are still no confirmed cases of coronavirus in Cordova, testing is taking place and is available for those that fit the CDC's testing criteria at Cordova Community Medical Center and Alanka Community Health Center. In a community as small and close-knit as Cordova, the City of Cordova's COVID-19 Incident Management Team feels that it's best not to reveal the exact number of individuals who have been tested at this time to protect patient privacy. However, any test that comes back positive for COVID-19 will be reported to the public immediately. So in other words, they're not saying how many people have been tested, but if a positive test comes back, that information will be released right away. Now, for health-related information, Cordova Prepared is the comprehensive source for answers to any questions you have. Please don't call CCMC or the clinic with COVID questions unless related directly to your health. We don't want to take time away from the important work of our medical providers. So please don't call the medical personnel, in other words, with general questions, only if you need to ask something about you. General questions should be directed to Cordova Prepared so we don't overburden the medical experts. They say do send your questions to cordovaprepared@yahoo.com, which goes directly to the city's public information and incident management teams. This also mentions that the City of Cordova COVID-19 Incident Management Team will be hosting live-streamed press briefings each Friday at 4 p.m., which will be streamed live and then available in the archive afterward at the city's YouTube page. They remind us again, the CDC site is coronavirus.gov. The state site about this is coronavirus.alaska.gov. If you have any non-clinical questions you would like to talk to somebody at the state about on the phone, it's easy to call 211. And then local coronavirus information can be gotten by going to cityofcordova.net. Finally, they say, let's do our part and practice the CDC guidance to keep Cordova free of COVID-19 for as long as possible. Please take every precaution to care for yourself and your loved ones. Updates will be posted regularly on the Cordova Prepared page of the City of Cordova website and also the Cordova Prepared Facebook page. And those general local questions, again, can be directed to cordovaprepared@yahoo.com. All right, so that's their news release. That's sort of the plain English description of what's going on. There is also available for you to read the actual text of the city's emergency order, which, I mean, since most of us have extra time on our hands now, it might not be a bad idea to download and take a look at it. I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but we can kind of summarize the rules just a little bit so you have a sense of what's in there, and then you can get all the detailed information by reading it yourself, because this will not translate well to radio. So they've got a rule about electronic city council meetings and giving notice for meetings and packets and things like that. A lot of things having to do with boards and commissions, talking about canceling non-essential board and commission meetings and that kind of thing. They'll be postponing non-essential meetings and agenda items till late April for the most part. There's a rule in there. It's Rule 5, licensed or permitted activities, giving the city manager some suspension authority. Some in-house stuff about purchasing authority and personnel policy. Bargaining units. City facilities, saying the city manager may close facilities or limit hours as needed. Rule 10 on private facilities, that they all need to comply with operating limitations and closure requirements ordered by the state, and giving the city manager some authority to close or limit operations if deemed necessary to protect public health, welfare, and safety. Again, you can read the full details on all of this by looking at this document. This is the actual emergency order. I'm just kind of summarizing. Now, Rule 11 is one that business owners, fishermen, maybe even employees, anybody that works, might want to take a look at in detail. It has to do with local business protective measures and policies. and applies to all businesses open to more than 5 customers at a time at a physical site within the city. It talks about basically the plans that you need to have. You need to establish a plan, file it with the city, and post it on site. So again, those of you that have been wondering about whether you have to have a plan or not, take a look at Rule 11 in this emergency order. It restates individual distancing protocols level 1 and 2. Rule 14 is one that applies to everybody having to do with symptomatic quarantine. In other words, if you have symptoms of COVID-19, you got to quarantine at home for 14 days and basically don't leave your house at all or your residence. I mean, I suppose you could stand on your deck or something like that, but don't leave your residence, don't leave your property if you are symptomatic. And again, details are in the emergency order. Now, Rules 15 and 16 in the emergency order have to do with these mutual aid agreements. And here again, businesses are going to want to take a look at this because the city wants you to file some paperwork with them. And the agreements are supposed to be on the city website. I was trying to find them and was having some trouble with it, so they may not have gone up when I was looking, but maybe they're now. And again, you can ask the city that, what is it now? I've forgotten the address. Oh yeah, CordovaPrepared@yahoo.com if you want to ask about that. But there are mutual aid agreements designed for small operators and large operators. And apparently they're going to provide something that you can fill out, so you don't have to do this from scratch. But that's something, as a business owner, you'll definitely want to look into. And it's in the emergency order itself. So if you go to cityofcordova.net, look for Emergency Order 2020-02. It's Rules 15 and 16. And that, I think, about covers it. We've got some other information on statewide numbers, but, those change all the time, and we've kind of gone on for a while here. I really want to focus this on local information. So thank you for tuning in. We hope the show was helpful. Again, I know it's real wordy, maybe doesn't sound great to listen to, so go to the city website and get these documents and look at them, highlight, circle things. If you have any questions, pass them on to that email address, CordovaPrepared@yahoo.com. Those are the official folks. That's the official email address to use. And I know they work hard to get back to everybody as soon as possible. So again, the documents that we covered are the news release that came out March 29th, yesterday, at 5 p.m., and then also took a quick look through Emergency Order 2020-02. Both of those documents are real easy to find at the city website, cityofcordova.net. There's a big red banner up at the top. It says COVID. Click that button, and then the list of documents comes right up, and you can get those too. The March 29th news release and the new emergency order, 2020-2. Our show is brought to you by Cordova Wireless Communication, a great supporter of local radio. We really appreciate that. The rest of your 10 a.m. hour programming will be coming to you, so we don't miss anything. If we need to do another show tomorrow, we will. If not, we'll do shorter announcements somewhere else. And if you missed any of this, the show will be archived on Robbie's YouTube channel he created. It's called Cordova TV. Go to youtube.com/Cordova TV, and you can hear everything that we shared right here. Thanks again for listening. Be safe. We'll see you next time.